Johnson Johnson Cook, and we are so excited to have you with us today. You're starting your day with Dr. Sujay. But I'm excited because one of my best friends, one of my dear friends, the actor, you've seen him on stage and television, in films, Clifton Powell is here with us today, and we are so excited. Welcome, Cliff.
I'm glad to be here.
It's been so many years. We were both students at Emerson College, Boston, Massachusetts.
That was just like in the 2000s, wasn't
it? Man, I mean, just a blink of an eye, you know. But you know what fascinated me about you? You were an actor then, but you were the only one who graduated with us who had that 10-year plan to be an actor. You were willing to be the starving actor in New York and then go to Hollywood. And then when we looked up NYPD Blue, and then when you were the manager of Ray for Ray Charles in the movie Ray, we like screamed because it was like he had this dream, he stuck to his plan, and there he's the man. Talk to us about that.
You know, you remember more than I do. I don't know. I can't remember those years where I actually planned to put all that stuff together. I just know that I was at Emerson and I was doing theater and I was focused. And I think probably in our conversations, I was like, I'm gonna go to LA and I'm gonna do this and do that. But I don't remember having a real concrete plan of how I was gonna get there.
Because you came to New York first.
Right, I came to New York
first. And then you were like, whatever it takes,
yeah.
I'm going to get to LA. I'm going to be an actor.
Yeah.
And you were just so focused, and we were still kind of trying to find our paths, but you found yours and you stuck to it.
Well, I think the just coming out of DC and Duke Ellington, my class started the first class at Duke Ellington, and from St. Anthony's days and Duke Ellington and Workshop for Careers in the Arts, the way I was trained, they put me on a path to. My teachers were like masters, and so by the time I got to Emerson, I was so focused. But I had some good teachers at Emerson, Jim Spruill, Gus Johnson, Shirley Nemitz, who I remember, Dr. Cornell, who helped work with my voice training, because I was very Southern when I first got there. I was like, hi, my name is Clifton Powell. I'm going to be an actor. Dr. Cornell stayed on me.
Yes.
Mama Mitchell.
Oh, my gosh.
So I think I was so focused. I'm not sure if I knew what I was going to do after Emerson, but I knew whatever I did, I had to be focused, and I knew I had to go to New York next. So I think it came out of my high school experience because it was so concentrated. So by the time I got to Emerson, I was just really, I didn't get sidetracked by the parties and hanging out and doing all that college stuff.
Right, nor did I. I wasn't really sidetracked by any of the parties either.
That's why we're sitting here.
That's why we're sitting right.
Hello.
Hello. But no, let's talk about it. You're a native Washington son. You're a Washington son.
Yeah.
What was your middle school? And then you went to Duke Ellington School of Performing Arts?
No. I grew up I grew up right near Easton High School on 18th and C.
Okay.
Southeast, and then in the second grade, I moved from that part of town over to the Kenilworth Parkside area.
Okay.
I grew up in Mayfair and Parkside area. Mayfair Mansions is a big apartment complex, and I went to Neville Thomas elementary school.
Okay.
And I was just really I was a cut up, I was a class clown, I was all that crazy stuff, and I really wanted to be a football player.
Really?
And then I ended up going to DeMatha because my nephew's the sportscaster James Brown.
Yes.
So JB played basketball. He was All-American, and he was like my idol.
Okay.
But I had no basketball skills, so I ended up going to DeMatha and staying in trouble, getting in detention all the time, hanging out with my white boyfriends, my buddies, my white boys who were my partners, because for me, it wasn't the same kind of racism that we grew up in the country. And DC was so African American, and everybody was cool. Even the white folks were just so cool. So I'm in the DeMatha hanging out with the white guys, getting in trouble in detention, the only brother in detention every day, And I remember I had a teacher named Mr. Smith. He'd say, "Pow, I'm gonna tell Brown on you," like my nephew JB. I was like, "Mr. Smith, please don't tell JB." And then I ended up leaving there because I couldn't play basketball.
Okay.
I ended up giving somebody the finger on the back of the bus.
Oh my goodness, not you.
And the coach was like, "Dude, you ain't gonna make it here." I ain't know I was a Catholic school, so I come out of the inner city. So I ended up going to St. Anthony's.
Yes.
And I saw a play. And I went to the teacher and I said, "I want to do the play and I don't want to do no damn singing."
Really?
He put me in a play, Mr. Red, and I'll never forget him. He put me in a play. And I did the play just to mess around, you know, because it looked like fun. And one of the guys from the place said, hey, man, they had this auditions for this place called Workshop for Careers in the Arts. And I remember he said, why don't you ride up there with me? I was like, dude, I ain't trying to be no actor. Since I wasn't going to be a football player. And I didn't make that team because John Thompson was the coach.
Oh,
and I
my
had
goodness.
no basketball skills at all.
Wow.
I was like a laughing stock, you know.
So did you get bit by the acting bug in this play?
No, no. I really just did it just to have fun.
Okay.
And I ended up going to workshops to the audition with my partner, and they kept coming out to ask me to come in. I was like, dude, I'm not trying to do that.
Oh, wow.
And then they came out like 4 times. And the 5th time I said, listen, dude, what do you want me to do? So I went in and did some little auditional improvisation, impromptu thing, and they called me and said, you're in the program. I was like, whoa.
Oh, my goodness.
That's how I got started. And then I got into the program, and then I think the bug got me.
Okay.
And then the summer that I went to Emerson, they merged with the school system to form Duke Ellington.
Okay,
And we did
got
street
it.
theater that summer at Duke Ellington. We moved in that summer.
What a phenomenal school, too, yeah.
You know, what a great school. You
How
know.
did you find Emerson? Why did you choose it?
My niece went to Emerson.
Yes,
My niece
but-
Alicia. In fact, when I
My classmate.
your classmate. I tell people, you know, young people when I do lectures or go into the high schools, in my junior year, I didn't even know what college was. I mean, I come out of the inner city. So my counselor's like, you want to go to college? I like, what is college? He's like, that's where you go after high school. I was like, oh yeah, I guess I'll go.
Well, let's talk about family life. You're Washingtonian, but you have nieces and nephews who are older than you.
yeah.
Talk about how many brothers, how many sisters.
I have my sister, Marianne Brown, God rest her soul, she's passed on. She had 5 children. JB is the oldest, my nephew John, who just passed.
And that's James Brown from the CBS Sports Show, right?
Yep, and that's Alicia is his sister, and then Terrence, and then there's Everett. And then I was like, me, Everett, and Terrence are all kind of like the same age.
Okay.
But my sister had a different dad. And my mom, when she passed when I was 4, my sister raised me along with my dad. So I was in the hood during the week and in the suburbs with them on the weekends, which probably changed my life because it changed my focus. And then I have cousins here, my cousin Anthony on my father's side, all my cousins on that side of my family. So, and then some of the elders are passed on, like my aunts and some of them.
So you're back in Washington doing a play. You come back regularly doing stage.
You know, it seems like DC is like on the tour circuit, Philly,
Yes.
DC, Baltimore. So I came here to do the Marvin Gaye story, and then I just left last week doing a play called Deranged.
Right.
And everybody really just comes out all the time in DC to really support it. You know,
and I want to make sure that I'm at your next show, whatever your next performance. But do you have a favorite genre? Stage, film, television? What's your favorite?
You know, I really love stage. Stage is where you really get a chance to really make it organic and have fun. If you had seen the Marvin Gaye story, I played Marvin's dad, which was an incredible piece of work, and it's very layered, but stage keeps you really on your feet, and you got to stay physically in shape. You do movies, you do like 10 takes.
Okay.
And you do, if you shoot a movie, you get to work at 6 in the morning, you might not work until 1 in the afternoon. So you sit in your trailer, watch TV, chill out, eat, you know.
So what's a typical day
you know.
like when you're doing stage? You're in a role, you've been cast for the role. What would be a typical day like?
Just, you know, rehearsal. When we did Marvin, I directed the Marvin Gaye story. So not only, you know, when you're the director and you're in the play, you know, from 9 o'clock in the morning, you got meetings with the producer. And then I think we rehearse from like 12 to 10 every day.
Every day?
So every day, you know, in stage, it's a 4-week rehearsal. So for Marvin, I think I have 4 weeks. And then as a director, you working with the cast, then you meet with wardrobe, you meet with the lighting guy. You know, I sit down with the lighting guy, so me and him will sit down, or he and I will sit down, and then I meet with the singers, and then I have, when we did Marvin, the guy that, Tony Grant, who was playing Marvin, he's kind of like my musical guy. So I don't really know music.
Right.
So if I hear something and I want to change it and I can't hear the notes, I turn to Tony and say, Tony, what key should they be in? He's like, Cliff, they should be in C. And so, you know, I have that. So I'm dealing with the wardrobe, I'm dealing with musicians, I'm dealing with the musical director. So it's a whole day. And then you're dealing with the producers. And then after everybody else goes home, you meet with the producers and sit and plan out your next day.
Do you have any role in casting at all, or any say-so when you direct?
And I have a lot of, you know, in the Marvin Gaye story, I didn't come on in the inception, We took the show out before, so they had a group of people that we basically brought back the same people. But I did have say-so in picking the dancers and, the look of the play and how we stage it and the whole thing like that. So, stage is just really, really fascinating.
And you feel the energy of the audience in a different way
My
that
goodness.
you can possibly feel in film.
There's no way you can feel the same energy that you feel in film. I mean, film is still fascinating. I think film for me is more fascinating when you're the director.
Yeah.
Because it's your vision and you're doing the same thing as a stage director would do, meeting with wardrobe, costume, lighting. It's just more impersonal, so to speak. Because you might be lighting, we sit in the room just talking.
Exactly.
And then we might not get it back to the lighting for another 3 months before, it's a whole different process.
So we want to talk about vision when we come back. We're going to take a break and we'll be right back. And we're back, and we're talking with the exciting, the remarkable, the inimitable Clifton Powell, my friend, my brother, famous actor. We are so delighted to have you.
I'm glad. This is like a peak experience.
I know. Welcome back home. I mean, it's amazing. Now we're interviewing each other, and look at what God has done, really.
Man, I tell you.
Who were some of your role models leading to college? And certainly in college, we heard about some of who's influenced you. But who are your role models, and who are they now?
That's a good question. I had so many angels. I had some great teachers. When I was at Neville Thomas, I remember Miss Burrell was one of my teachers who really made sure that I had my breakfast in the morning because my dad worked at night. Miss LaBeouf, Miss Arnold, and then I had a teacher in the 8th grade, Miss Taylor, who I went to and I said, Miss Taylor, I need some recommendations because I got to go to DeMatha. She said, Clifton Powell, what am I going to say good about you?
Whoa.
She said, but you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to lie, and I'm going to make sure you get in that school. Wow. And whatever she said, I got in. And then, of course, my nephew, JB, was always like a role model to me. I had a surrogate big brother. His name was Daryl Harvey. God rest his soul. Him and his mom kind of took me in, when I was 7 by myself, and my dad worked nights. And then my partner, Steve Ferrier, who's been like a real inspiration, who took me, and my niece, Alicia, was the first one to say, Cliff, maybe you should try being an actor. Try to do something. I was going to be a bus driver working Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Wow.
And then all my teachers at Duke Ellington, Glenda Dickerson, God rest her soul, Charles Brown, who when they were going to, I was a little rough around the edges, and I wouldn't wear my leotards and tights. And Charlie Brown told them, he said, man, we got to keep this kid in this program. Kenneth Doherty, Mike Malone.
Are any of them still alive today?
Mike, Glenda just passed a couple of years ago. Mike passed a few years ago. Charlie Brown passed a few years ago.
Did they get to see any of your work?
They got to see a lot of my work, and I was also able to go back to Duke Ellington and talk. So it's hasn't been one person. It's been a community that has really donated their energies to get me to where I am now. And Steve is still one of my dear friends, and of course JB and I are very close. And I have a few friends that I've met along the way who, when I get in dilemmas, I call and get good advice. But Steve has been really, really instrumental in just being a friend who kept me on track, when I got off track a lot.
Who was the most exciting person you worked with, stage, film, or television?
Man, I gotta say, Jamie Foxx is really
talented as we see.
He's probably one of the most interesting people I've ever worked with, because when we were shooting Ray, I never really worked with an artist or an actor, musician, or anyone where I sat in the scene and was mesmerized by them working and then had to snap out of it and go do my job. He's just a consummate pro.
Yeah.
He's an incredible musician and singer, and he plays piano and does everything.
Yeah, that was an incredible film, and you were excellent at it.
Thank you so much. But Jamie, Charles Dutton is really deep guy to work with.
So you become a family during a film. What happens after the film? Do you stay in touch, or does everyone go to their next project?
Film is a little different than stage, because it's you kind of go your separate ways. But you still, like Angela Bassett, Denzel. I didn't know Denzel as much, but Sam, if I ran into him, we'd talk about, those guys were a little in front of me, Esther Pather Murkison. We all have a bond coming out of that theater stuff. Film is a little different. you kind of go. You know, I haven't seen Ice Cube in years, but
Right.
if I run into him, it'll still be a cool Snoop and some of those guys that I've worked with. But stage is more family-like. It's
Okay,
more
'cause you're
ensemble
together
work.
so-
You're
yeah.
together so long, and the stage process is just so intricate that you really form a bond working
Yeah.
together. You know, so.
Angela Bassett and I became honorary Delta Sigma Theta sisters this summer. So it's wonderful getting to know her.
She's a sweetie pie.
But I just want to ask you a favor, and you can tell me yes or no, but can I get a love scene opposite Denzel? Can you make that happen?
Yeah, we got to work on it.
We got to work on that? Okay. Just, that was my dream. And
smoothest guy in the world. Huh?
Yeah, definitely.
You ever met Denzel?
I have on a couple of occasions that were with United Way and some professional fundraisers. But yeah, I really am
He's
impressed.
smooth as ice.
He's smooth as ice. Smooth as.
And I would say, watching, Sidney Poitier when I was coming up.
Oh yes.
Admiring Denzel's work, Sam's work, Glenn Turman, who I saw early on when I was, I like to say younger, but
Right.
Esapatha Murkison, artists that I admire who are thorough in their jobs.
Okay, you've hit Hollywood, you've hit the big screen, you've hit the big stage. What does it take in terms of values and ethics? How do you hold on to it? Your constitution, how do you hold on to it?
Oh man, that's you really have to be determined for me to resist any kind of substance in terms of the hard stuff. Got to watch your drinking.
It's right there.
You got to watch your cocaine. You got to watch all that stuff. You smoke weed too much. I just made a decision that I wouldn't go down that road. I have a little red wine. Early on in my career, I drank more than I wanted to. It's a lot of pressure. But I never succumbed to the hard drugs, and never really succumbed to smoking weed consistently. I'm not knocking what anybody else does.
Right.
But I knew early on when I first got to New York, I saw Sam, I saw Denzel, I saw Esapatha Murkison, and I knew that I had to have a certain level of discipline to get to where I felt like I didn't know where I was going to go, but I knew I had to be disciplined. I was disciplined in college. I didn't drink, I didn't smoke anything in college.
You really were excellent.
And I knew that, and so now I've developed a style of I get up in the morning, I pray and I meditate, and I watch any substance. I try to eat right. And you constantly have to reinvent yourself in this business.
So when you're not on stage, what's a typical day like?
If I'm in LA, I take my kids to school, and then I come back and I may work out. I love sports, so I will go watch the games.
Okay.
But when I'm not working, I kind of hang out with my kids. My little daughter Maya, my son Clifton is 16 and he's a basketball star.
Really?
And he and my oldest son is Rashad. He he may come out, hang out with him, or if I'm in DC, I'm hanging out with him and my grandkids, some of my high school friends, and
You're a granddad.
I'm a granddad.
That's
I got
amazing.
two grandkids, Eliza and Rashad Jr. And I'm more like, I just live a regular life. I never really wanted to be, and I have lived a Hollywood lifestyle. I've been in that whole limelight, and the limos and the parties and the functions. And after you've done that, then you really just want to, most people in the limelight, they kind of want to fall back and just have a normal life, So I lead a normal life. I hang out with a lot of my friends and may catch lunch. And then I'm trying to produce and direct. So I'm got scripts that I'm looking at and I read, and I'm working with some writers. I meet with them. So I'm trying to move from in front of the camera to behind the camera a little bit more. And that's that's a typical day,
Is faith important in your life?
Yeah, I was talking to a class that I was teaching just Saturday. And I said, you really don't need just this much faith. All you need is this much faith.
That mustard seed.
You just need the size of a mustard seed. And, my father instilled that in me. My father's favorite saying was that where there's a will, there's a way. And I think along the way, my teachers, my mentors, but mostly being around my sister, who I would have to say was one of the main influences on how I was raised, was just a really strong woman. And she instilled a lot of faith, and she wouldn't let you quit. Okay. And that really has taken me through the journey that I've been on.
So how do you define success, and what are the steps to success? There's a little boy, a little girl somewhere who has a dream, maybe of being an actor, maybe being something else. They're getting in trouble every now and then in their high school, middle school. What does it take to be successful, and how do you define success?
Oh man, I think success is, living your dream. I feel like I've been successful. I've achieved a certain level of, success. And I don't want to say fame because I don't look at it like that.
Sure.
But I lived my dream. I started here in high school, and I lived my dream all the way through college, through 10 years in New York, 22 years in LA, and I've been a working actor. And I think you have to be real clear and focused on what your passion is.
Yes.
And then all you need is this much faith.
Okay.
And then you can't be deterred by others and their opinions of where you should go. And you got to put that kind of passion, especially to be in the media like we are.
Yes.
You really have to be determined. And I think, along with that comes the adulation that you get. Along with that comes the fame. Along with that comes the money and being able to buy the things that you want without doing anything crazy to get it.
Exactly.
But that's the least of it. The least of it is the money and the fame and the adulation. And the greatest of it is you're living your passion and your dream and sharing it with others and changing others, in the course of their lives. What can you give back,
So the adulation, the congratulations, the salutations, that's the return on the investment.
Yeah.
What did you have to invest?
You invest a lot. It's a hard journey. You lose, all the friends that I started with in '89 that I thought would be able to share in my success, not my friends anymore. I went through a tough divorce, and that it's almost like you dying or you're reborn, and that's painful. Nobody really tells you when you first start in this business and you climb your way from the bottom to the top or to the middle, that it's a solo journey.
So it really is lonely at the top in a sense.
It's lonely at the top. I read a quote, and I can't remember who said it. I don't know if it's Julie Garland. She said, if I'm an icon, why am I so damn lonely?
Wow. Most people don't realize that.
They don't, and I think there are no victims. You got to live your passion. It's lonely at the top.
But you're living your dream.
But you're living your dream. And I think you got to be willing to, I don't want to say lose to win, but you got to be willing to walk on anyway. And if your aunt don't talk to you no more, then that's just the way it is.
Right.
If your sister don't talk to you no more, that's just the way it is. If your best friend turns on you, that's just the way it is. And you still got to go.
Exactly.
And it doesn't have to be like that.
Right.
I think one of the reasons why I'm teaching classes and doing seminars, so I can share my story, so that I can help young people have the kind of mentorship that can help them maybe not get married so soon inside of in trying to build.
As you're trying to build.
As you're trying to build your career.
Let's stay there for a minute because there is a building process. And so sometimes you can't make too many other moves while you're trying to build. So talk about that in terms of staying focused as you're trying to build.
I think the biggest thing that happens when you're trying to build, if I could mentor any of my students or anybody who's trying to do this, I would say it's very difficult unless you have a real good spiritual base, not just yourself, but your mate and also to really grow together.
Yeah.
Or it has to be a solo job. Now, if you do television, if you do commercials, it's a different kind of time frame.
Yes.
But when you do movies, you travel, I was gone 80% of the time.
Wow.
You can't build a marriage like that. I was gone out of the house at the formative times when I should have been with the kids. That's the life I chose. I don't know if I decided to be a movie star or TV star, commercial star, but they're all very separate.
Yes.
The movie star thing is at the top of the totem pole. And at the end of the day, it's a sacrifice. And if your mate doesn't understand that, it can be very difficult. But not just your mate. If you don't know how to be present and handle all the things that are coming at you and put it all in perspective so you can be present, you got to have mentorship around that.
Yes.
You have to have a certain spiritual base to be able to handle that. And I did the best I could. I didn't necessarily come out of it with flying colors. But I don't think they tell you going in that unless you have those things in place, it probably won't work.
So where do you do your workshops and seminars, and how do people find out about what you're doing now with young people?
Currently I'm teaching in Philadelphia, and I'm teaching at the Atlas Theater, and you can go to charliepowellpictures at hotmail.com.
charliepowellpictures at hotmail.com.
And leave your name and number if you're interested in the DC area, if you're interested in the Philadelphia area. How
awesome is that?
I'm coming back and forth between LA and DC for the next 3 or 4 years until I transition, out of Hollywood at some point. But I really am having a great time.
Do you have to reinvent yourself at a certain point to stay in the industry?
Yeah, you do. You have to. Got to stay current. You got to, you got to stay in that gym and try to keep your body in shape.
Yes.
You got to keep your mind in shape. You got to let all the pain go. You got to realize there are no victims.
So is it just like acting? I mean, you're in a character. You were in NYPD Blue. You're in Ray. You're in all of these films. But at the end of the film, at the end of the TV show, you're changing characters. Do you have to do that with life too?
No, I don't know if you change characters. I think you grow. I think you learn from all the pain, from thinking that you're a victim, pointing fingers at each other. I mean, at others. I mean, when you point a finger at someone, there's 3 pointing back at you.
Yeah.
So I think you have to take responsibility for the pain that you allowed to happen to you, some of the deception, some of the deceitfulness, some of the friends who you thought were your friends who were actually jealous, who gave you a sign that they were jealous in the beginning, that you
missed along the way the first time.
Or you weren't able in your maturation to make any adjustment, So you can't be mad about that. It's all part of your journey.
Okay.
So reinventing yourself is learning how to shed all of that. Understand that we may not be friends, but there's no animosity.
What are you most proud of?
Being there for my kids. Being a good friend, to some of my high school classmates we're still friends 35 years later.
That's awesome.
And we like family,
There's a poet that has this poem that says, "What shall I tell my children who are black?" What do you tell your children now?
I tell my children to, just be true to themselves. Be nice, be kind, give, share. Stay focused, stay disciplined. Thank God for your blessings, because I had a tougher life than my kids have had. And, I just talked to my son today about staying focused, living your dream. Don't live my shadow, live your own dream, being your own person, listening to your own voice. And just telling them to try to be a good citizens,
Which work are you most proud of? What was the most exciting?
Oh, man. I mean, Ray was incredible.
Yeah.
But then being on Rock was incredible. Playing Martin Luther King and Selma, Lord Selma was incredible.
Oh my goodness.
Buffalo Soldiers was incredible. And as quiet as it's kept working on Next Friday with Ice Cube and the kind of atmosphere that he creates and creating these different kinds of characters. So I've had a bevy, of work that I've done, but I would say Ray and Rock and Dead Presidents and Minister Society, Selma, Lord Selma, up there at the top.
We were so proud of you. I got to walk the red carpet with you with Woman Thou Art Loose with Bishop T.D. Jakes.
That's a long
And it was
time.
like, this is my friend.
Oh,
I mean,
my
like,
God.
we know Clifton Powell. So, we were kind of on the sidelines just waiting in the wings for you to come out and take your picture. But we are so proud of you, of all your accomplishments and all the blessings that have come your way, but you also share your blessings with others. This is the beginning of our new beginning as we start again, and we thank you for staying with us today. Conversations with Dr. Sujay. We've been talking with Clifton Powell. Have a blessed day.